Hey, have you ever heard the story of the Slughead Spectre? It massacred an entire family. You might think this is just another ordinary Spectre story, but this story is a little different because a few days later the Spectre's head was found displayed at the entrance of the house. And the one who did it was the only survivor, the eldest son. They say he was only 10 years old. According to the rumors, this boy isn't human. In the town, a Spectre hunter named Mangrione arrives at the scene. She finds a blood-stained post in the middle of the square. Mangrione realizes that this must be the place the villagers were talking about. Even though she is a hunter accustomed to killing specters, for the first time she feels pity for the creature. The locals insist that the boy is actually a specter disguised as a human. They beg Mangrione to eliminate him. Mangrione reflects on the story. A specter transforming into a 10-year-old child, only to be killed by dozens of children his own age. That doesn't make sense considering the power of a specter. And the cruelty of displaying its head in public doesn't match what she knows about the village either. Mangrione decides to uncover the truth behind the story. She approaches the door where the boy is being held, whatever is waiting for her on the other side. Mangrione opens the door. She finally comes face to face with the boy. The boy asks who she is. Mangrione introduces herself as a specter hunter. The boy repeats in surprise, a specter hunter. Mangrione observes the boy closely, confirming that he is the one the villagers were talking about. She notices his lifeless eyes and wonders if that was what frightened the villagers so much. But Mangrione knows she can't jump to conclusions based on that alone. Then she notices something strange, a crude grave beside the boy. Judging by the dirt covering his body, she concludes that the boy himself must have dug it. Mangrione realizes that he has gone a long time without food or water. She prepares a bowl of porridge. Mangrione hands the food to the boy and tells him to eat. The boy asks why she is doing this for him. He wonders if she didn't come to kill him at the villagers' request. The boy explains that the villagers have always hated him. He believes they were frightened by his lifeless eyes. And now that they have seen him kill a specter, he thinks they simply want to drive him out of the village. Mangrione becomes thoughtful after hearing his explanation. She approaches and sits beside the boy. Mangrione confirms it, so he really did kill a specter. She asks him to tell her exactly how it happened. The boy begins recalling the scene of the attack. He relives the moment when the specter charged through the house, covered in blood. The boy watched everything through a crack in the wall. His eyes captured every detail of what happened that night. The boy remembers the specter's attack in the bamboo forest. He charged at the monster with a bamboo spear and killed it with ease. Mangrione pieces together the rest of the story. He survived by hiding in the swamp, then followed the specter until he discovered its hideout. After that, he sold the belongings from his own home to get money. He bought information about the specter's weakness from an informant, and finally he got his revenge. Mangrione is surprised. All of this was accomplished by a child who is only 10 years old. She asks why he displayed the specter's head at the gate. The boy answers that he wanted to do to the specter exactly what it had done to his family. Mangrione reflects that it is hard to believe, but the boy doesn't seem to be lying. She remembers that hunters usually use salt-covered bamboo spears against this type of specter. Even knowing the creature's weakness, hunting a specter like this isn't easy, not even for an adult. Mangrione recognizes in him the judgment needed to plan his revenge even after witnessing his family's deaths, the persistence to discover the weakness of a powerful enemy and defeat it, and the determination to see the entire plan through. She realizes that he has the makings of a natural-born specter hunter. The boy says that now that his revenge is complete, he has no regrets left in life. He says that all he wants is to quietly end his life beside his family. Mangrione interrupts him by smacking him on the head. She asks for his name since she still doesn't know it. The boy answers Issei. Mangrione comments that Changing World is a good name. Then she asks Issei, do you really think you got your revenge just by displaying the specter's head? Issei answers yes. Mangrione questions whether he's simply convincing himself that what he did was enough. She reminds him that he lost both his family and his will to live at the same time. Mangrione asks how he can possibly be satisfied after killing just one specter. She declares that since he is not a specter, the villagers' request is cancelled. Mangrione says goodbye and begins to leave. Issei remains silent, unable to say a word. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the village. A man confronts Mangrione in anger. You're not going to eliminate the monster. Mangrione replies that he is not a monster. No matter how you look at it, that boy is human. The man stammers, offering to pay more, assuming the problem is the fee. Mangrione asks why he hates the boy so much. The man shouts, didn't you see that monster's terrifying eyes? He claims they already knew this would happen, that the monster would bring ruin upon the village. Mangrione fires back. From where I'm standing, you people look like the real monsters. The man stares at her in confusion. What? She questions them. Just because the boy is a little different and difficult to understand, how can you possibly see him as a monster? Mangrione orders them to stop. She warns that accumulating bad karma and resentment will only attract more specters. The villagers insist that the monster was the one who attracted the specter to their village. Mangrione comments that these people don't seem like the type to listen quietly. Suddenly, a horn emerges from beneath her hat. The villagers recoil in fear. Mangrione warns them, if you torment that boy again, you can expect punishment from me, a dakibai. The villagers scream in terror, a specter. Mangrione clarifies, not a specter, a dakibai. She explains that Dakibus have an alliance with human society to hunt specters. Mangrion adds that, to them, she must look like just another monster. Now that they understand, she declares that their request is cancelled. One of the villagers collapses in shock upon realizing that the specter hunter was also a monster. Another villager desperately asks what they are supposed to do now. The villagers come to a conclusion. Now that it has come to this, we have no choice. The villagers' eyes gleam in the darkness, filled with silent hatred. Gathered together, they decide that they must protect the village with their own hands. Night falls over the village. Suddenly, flames spread with a thunderous roar. The villagers advance toward Issei's house armed with sickles and torches. One of them laughs, saying they should have done this from the beginning. One of the villagers shouts, "If we burn down his house, that boy won't be able to live in this village anymore." He declares, "This is what happens when a monster tries to live among us." Issei runs toward the flames, screaming no. But the villagers, consumed by a sickening joy, shout, "Burn it! Burn everything until there's nothing but ashes." The villagers' eyes transform, glowing with an ominous red light. Amid their collective hatred, something begins to take shape in the shadows. A monstrous specter emerges from the flames, born from the villagers' hatred. The creature screams, "Burn everything." Issei silently watches the scene, recognizing what stands before him. The specter opens its mouth, preparing to attack. A blast of purple energy shoots toward Issei. Issei throws himself to the side, dodging the attack, but the impact sends him flying into a wall, leaving him badly injured. Issei groans in pain as he realizes what has happened. He notices in horror that the flames have reached his family's graves. The specter advances menacingly, emerging from the burning ruins. Issei finds himself facing yet another specter. He grabs an axe, ready to fight back. Issei thinks, "Wasn't taking my family away from me enough? Now they're even taking away my chance to die beside them." Consumed by hatred, the villagers completely transform into specters. One of them lets out a monstrous scream, its red eyes glowing in the darkness. The specter emerges from the flames, and Issei strikes it directly in the head with his axe. Issei reacts through the pain. "I thought everything had already been taken from me. But there's still more to lose." The specters close in, ready to attack. Issei remembers Mangrion's words. "Do you really think you got your revenge just by putting his head on public display?" He continues to remember. "Or did you simply convince yourself that it was enough?" Issei screams, overwhelmed by the painful memory. The specters rush forward and manage to grab him. Mangrion's voice echoes in his mind. "You lost your family, your will to live, and everything else." Two specters approach him, their red eyes glowing. Issei stares at the scene with his eyes wide open. The specter rises before him as he continues to hear Mangrion's words. "So how can you be satisfied with killing just one specter?" The specter opens its mouth, revealing its sharp fangs. A blade cuts through the air and strikes the giant specter's eye. Issei is struck and becomes engulfed in purple energy as the specter looms over him. Issei finally understands. "I understand now my revenge." He completes the thought. It won't end until the last specter is exterminated. Issei reaches his hand toward the darkness. His hand soon falls limp, but another hand suddenly grabs it. Mangrion firmly grips Issei's hand, protecting him. She slams one foot into the ground with tremendous force. The impact effortlessly destroys the weaker specters. The strongest specter watches the scene, an axe embedded in its eye. Mangrion comments, "To think you wouldn't back down from a specter even with a body that small." She takes Issei into her arms. Impressive, Issei. Mangrion then turns her gaze toward the villagers. "Compared to you, you're pathetic." She explains, "Bad karma and resentment create demonic energy, and that demonic energy attracts specters. That's why I told you to stop accumulating bad karma. You even summoned the Tilehead Scholar. It may have been because of all the bad karma you accumulated," she says, staring at the strongest specter. Mangrion orders the specter, "Go and atone to this child's family." An explosion of energy consumes the battlefield. The creature's sharp teeth clench tightly. The specter screams in agony. Mangrion looks at the defeated creature lying beside Issei. "You're pretty loud for someone that big." Issei, still badly injured, asks, "Exterminate all the specters, is that what you mean?" Mangrion replies, "That's a good choice." She continues, "If you survive, even as a vengeful demon, better days will come." Mangrion carries Issei away, still injured, she declares, "Until you become strong enough to get your revenge. I'll take you in." She walks toward a gate illuminated by the setting sun. Time passes. A butterfly peacefully flies over a tranquil village. The butterfly lands on Mangrion's hair. Issei sleeps, still injured, while she silently watches over him. Issei murmurs while still unconscious. Mangrion approaches him. "Are you awake?" Issei recognizes her. "You're." She introduces herself. "I'm Mangrion, a specter hunter." Mangrion says, "If you want to blame me for saving you on a whim, you can." Issei remembers the monstrous specter advancing toward him. He also remembers the specter being destroyed by the purple flames. Time passes. Mangrion walks toward a gate illuminated by the setting sun. Sitting alone, Issei relives the memory. "My family's graves were destroyed." He realizes in anguish. It wasn't a dream. Issei looks at his bandages. He examines his own body in surprise, not even a single burn scar. Issei thanks Mangrion. Thank you for treating me and taking care of me. Ji replies, Dakibus are an incredible race. Issei comments, you're pretty calm knowing that I'm a Dakiba. Mangrion counters, you said you weren't a specter, and you treated me kindly, why would that matter? Ji concludes, you're a child without prejudice. Mangrion asks, you said your name was Issei, right? Issei confirms, yes. Ji asks, have you thought about my offer? Issei questions her, you mean following you and learning the arts of exorcism? Mangrion confirms, yes, you seem to have talent. She continues, I'll give you a place to live until you can stand on your own, and I'll help you become strong enough to take revenge on the specters. Issei hesitates, that sounds too good to be true, it makes me suspicious. Mangrion smiles, you're quite perceptive. She warns him, if you're coming with me, you'd better be prepared. Mangrion explains, the place where you'll be staying is the kingdom of the Dakibus. She continues, Dakibai ghosts are different from specters, but we also possess demonic energy. Mangrion adds, a place filled with demonic energy is a hostile environment for humans. Mangrion warns him, above all, my training is rigorous. She continues, so much so that every day will feel like hell. Issei remains silent for a moment, hell. He replies, I like the sound of that. Issei explains, otherwise I could never even dream of exterminating specters. He declares, I'll follow you, Mangrion. She smiles, I was only trying to scare you a little. Mangrion comments, but your determination seems firm. She pushes a bowl toward him, then eat. Mangrion explains, you need to recover before we go anywhere. Issei hesitates as he looks at the food. Mangrion insists, make sure you eat everything this time. Issei begins eating in silence. He quietly replies, yes. Time passes, the two travel through a mist-covered mountainous landscape. Issei comments, Mangrion, things are starting to feel strange around here. Ji explains, that's because this place is filled with demonic energy. Mangrion warns him, don't leave this taboo rope. She continues, you won't be able to find your way back on your own. Mangrion announces, we're here. She points toward the gate ahead. Behind this gate lies the kingdom of the Dakibus where you'll be living. The Spirit Guardian Temple. A sign stands prominently nearby. Spirit Guardian Temple, Forbidden Land, humans must return home. Issei asks uncertainly, is it really okay for a human to enter the kingdom of the Dakibus? Mangrion teases him, are you scared now that we're here? Issei denies it, that's not it. He explains, I was just worried that bringing a human here might cause trouble for you. Mangrion reflects on this. Worrying about me in a situation like this, you're a strange child. She reassures him, don't worry. Mangrion assures him, no Dakibai in the Spirit Guardian Temple would dare question the chief. Issei is surprised in the chief. He looks around the area warily. Issei gazes at the Dakibai village filled with cherry blossom trees and pagodas. Mangrion comments, it's a completely different world. She asks, what do you think, beautiful isn't it? Issei looks at the crowd in the distance, intrigued. Are all those people over there Dakibus? At the entrance to the Spirit Guardian Temple, two Dakibus notice their presence. One of them exclaims, what a scrawny human. The other asks, how dare a human enter the Spirit Guardian Temple? A third Dakibai recognizes Mangrion and looks surprised. Mangrion announces loudly, listen everyone. She declares, this human child is Issei. He will learn the arts of exorcism under my command. Mangrion adds, he's our new family, so treat him kindly. Two Dakibus watch the scene from a distance. One of them comments, well, if the chief is the one who brought him here, then it's fine. He adds, it's great to have a new member of the family. Issei reflects, surprised. With just one word from Mangrion, everyone accepted me. Mangrion thinks to herself, maybe he's even more incredible than I thought. She decides, now I think that's enough of the initiation ritual. Mangrion announces, let's move on to the most important thing in specter hunting. A table overflowing with food is placed in front of Issei. Mangrion orders a Dakibai chef, chef, bring more, focus on the meat. The chef replies excitedly, yes, chief. Issei asks, confused, chief, what's all this? He questions, I don't see what eating has to do with hunting specters. Mangrion smacks him on the head. When it comes to the arts of exorcism, you have a serious problem. She explains, you forget that you're still a child. Mangrion continues, a child's duty is to eat and sleep plenty. She warns him, if you don't strengthen your body now, you'll deeply regret it when you become a specter hunter. Issei reflects on her words, holding food in his hands. I understand. He concludes, you mean I need to build a body capable of hunting specters while I'm still growing. Issei accepts this, if that's also necessary to exterminate specters. He begins eating as Mangrion watches with satisfaction. A voice shouts, "Chief." Gonga appears running toward them, carrying a bowl filled with meat. She is the Dakibai chef of the Spirit Guardian Temple. Gonga announces, "I brought more meat." Mangrion says that she needs to leave to take care of something. She asks Gonga to take Issei to his room once he finishes eating. Gonga confirms, "Yes, Chief." Mangrion orders, "Make sure he eats every last bite." Issei stares at the amount of food in front of him in disbelief. He thinks, so this is what hell looks like. Gonga introduces herself to Issei and asks his age. Issei answers, "I'm 10 years old." Gonga is shocked. She is 22 and she thinks Issei seems more mature than she is. An older Dakibai explains that humans age twice as fast as Dakibis. In other words, Gonga is only 1 year older than Issei in practical terms. Gonga declares that this makes her his older sister. The older Dakibai asks Gonga to take good care of Issei. She happily agrees, excited by the idea of having a younger brother. Time passes. Issei walks away, feeling so full that his stomach hurts. Gonga laughs and says that he's young, so he'll digest everything quickly. As they walk, Gonga comments that Issei is lucky. After all, it's the chief herself who will train him in the arts of exorcism. She warns him that the other Dakibus will be jealous. Issei wonders if the chief is really that impressive. Gonga is surprised that he didn't even know. She explains that Mangrion is a living legend who has been hunting specters for more than 300 years. According to Gonga, she is probably stronger than all the Dakibus in the temple combined. Issei reflects on what it means to live for 300 years. He thinks that Dakibus and humans really are different. Even so, when he looks at Mangrion and Gonga, Issei can't notice much of a difference between them and humans. Gonga smiles and makes him a promise. Issei feels a strange sensation, a warmth he has never felt in his village. He thinks that everything still feels very strange to him. Suddenly, a voice shouts, "Hey, you human." Issei and Gonga turn around, alarmed. Shadows of Dakibus appear in front of them. One of them confronts Issei. Not only did he enter the Dakibai realm, but he's also learning the arts of exorcism directly from the chief, who is extremely busy. Ilchwi stares at Issei with a sinister smile. He cracks his fingers and suggests, "Let's have a little talk, shall we?" Gonga walks beside Issei looking serious. She identifies the group, Ilchwi Waljang and Gojul's group. Issei studies their eyes thoughtfully. He wonders if these Dakibus are the type who have familiars. The sun begins to set over the temple. Gonga spots the scene from a distance and shouts in alarm, What do you think you're doing?" Issei appears in front of her, his face bruised and his body covered in blood. At the training grounds, one Dakibai asks worriedly if the chief is going to let this slide. Another replies, trying to sound casual, "Why make such a big deal out of it? Training is normal at the Spirit Guardian Temple." Ilchwi explains to Gonga that they were just showing Issei what the place was like so that he would give up on the arts of exorcism. According to him, it was so Issei wouldn't get himself killed fighting a specter without knowing his own limits. Ilchwi adds mockingly, "You're so weak that this barely even counts as training." Meanwhile, Issei stares at the ground, his face covered in blood. Ilchwi thinks to himself that since the chief personally brought Issei there, he assumed the boy must be special. He wonders why the chief chose to teach the arts of exorcism to someone like Issei instead of him. Issei repeats their words suspiciously. So it was training. He silently stares at the group, unable to believe it. Issei speaks up apologetically. "Sorry, I thought you were just bullying me." He explains that since he would be living there, he thought it would be better to just endure it. Issei admits, "I guess I ended up ruining your training." Ilchwi reacts, confused and irritated. "What?" Without warning, he charges forward and lands a powerful punch on Issei. Another blow hits Issei squarely, sending him flying backward. Ilchwi shouts furiously, "You're just a weak human. What are you going to do if you can't handle it?" He continues, "Are you getting cocky just because I'm holding back so I don't kill you?" Another punch strikes Issei in the face, causing blood to spray. Ilchwi stares at his own hand, confused by what he's feeling. He thinks that he's beating Issei until there's barely anything left of him, yet it brings him no satisfaction. Something else bothers Ilchwi. Why doesn't Issei close his eyes when he's hit? Annoyed by Issei's gaze, Ilchwi explodes, "How dare you look at me like that?" Issei reveals what he has discovered. "Your attacks have a pattern." Ilchwi freezes, caught off guard. The other Dakibus react, unable to understand what is happening. Issei charges forward with everything he has, his eyes locked on Ilchwi. Ilchwi's eye widens in surprise at his reaction. Issei throws a straight punch. Issei's fist stops right in front of Ilchwi's face. Startled by the sudden advance, Ilchwi retreats and falls onto the ground. Issei realizes the reason for his failure. Too short. He concludes, remembering the chief's warning. He would regret it if he didn't eat properly. Issei walks over to Ilchwi, who is still lying on the ground. He asks, "Your name is Gong Ilchwi, right?" Issei requests, "Even if I look weak, I'd prefer it if you didn't hold back your blows." He extends his hand and explains, "Because a specter won't show you any mercy." Ilchwi stares at Issei in silence. Issei invites him, "Let's train again next time." Night falls over the temple. Mangrion silently watches Issei. She comments, "You're already completely worn out on your very first day." Mongryone reveals that Gong-ah told her everything and she wants to know if Il-Chy's gang gave him trouble. Issei downplays it. It was just some simple training. Mongryone retorts, no simple training would leave you in that condition. She calls Issei over to heal him. A green energy surrounds Issei's body. Issei recognizes it. This must be the same magic you used when I was burned. Mongryone replies that it's natural for children to grow up fighting with one another, but if things go too far, he should come to her. She then asks, did you manage to hit Il-Chy too? Issei answers, there's no need to worry. He admits the truth, he didn't land a single hit on Il-Chy. Issei adds that he knows he can't cause trouble since he's living there. Mongryone falls silent at his answer. She grabs Issei's head with her hand wrapped in green energy and lifts him off the ground. Issei reacts, confused, Chief. Mongryone replies irritably, why are you calling me? I'm busy healing the face of an annoying brat. Issei understands the message, I think I upset you. Mongryone asks, how did I introduce you to the Dokibus? Issei answers, you introduced me as family. Mongryone orders, then stop acting like a guest. Issei accepts, I'll keep that in mind. The green energy continues healing Issei's face. He clarifies, just so there's no misunderstanding. Issei explains that he didn't stand there and take the beating because of his position there. He tells her the truth. Against Il-Chy, who was fighting seriously, he couldn't land a single blow. Mongryone responds, of course you couldn't. She reveals that Il-Chy has enough martial talent to train even with adults. Issei repeats, impressed, train with adults. He asks, then can Il-Chy already hunt specters? Mongryone answers, if he went specter hunting, he would definitely die. Issei is confused by her answer. Mongryone points out the contradiction. Issei killed a low-level specter like the tall-headed scholar, but he can't defeat Il-Chy. Even so, she states that Il-Chy, despite being stronger than Issei, would die on a hunt. Mongryone explains that the arts of exorcism aren't based on strength alone. She reminds him that Issei killed the tall-headed scholar by exploiting its weakness, salt. Mongryone concludes that information is necessary to create a winning situation. She explains that Il-Chy lacks knowledge, so he would die when facing a powerful specter, and Issei lacks martial strength, so he would die if he couldn't rely on luck. Mongryone defines the two pillars, knowledge and martial prowess. She concludes only by combining the two is it possible to practice the arts of exorcism. Mongryone announces that from now on she will give Issei his first task. Time passes. Autumn arrives at the temple. Issei runs until he can no longer endure it. He trains his body until he collapses onto the ground. Afterward, Issei spends hours studying, surrounded by piles of books. Gong-ah watches everything bored. She complains that Issei has been like this for an entire week. Gong-ah offers to play with him. Issei refuses. There aren't enough hours in the day. He explains that he needs to complete his task to obtain the chief's permission to practice the arts of exorcism. Gong-ah asks curiously, a task. Issei explains that to prove his knowledge, the chief ordered him to read every book in the library. Gong-ah is shocked. All of those books, it'll take decades. She declares that if she were forced to do that, she'd rather die. Issei calmly replies, I like reading so it's fine. Gong-ah then questions him, if Issei only runs and trains his body, why is he covered in injuries? Issei reveals that to prove his martial prowess, he has to win a sparring match. Gong-ah repeats, confused, a sparring match. On the training grounds, Issei is lying on the ground in front of Il-Chy. Il-Chy complains that Issei challenges him to train every single day. He adds, irritated, that he can't even kill Issei. Issei retorts, of course you can't kill me, it's training. Il-Chy shouts, who said I was going to train with you? Gong-ah watches everything from a distance and finally understands the source of Issei's injuries. She wonders if the chief gave Issei the task of defeating Il-Chy. Gong-ah concludes that it's impossible. A human can't overpower a Dokibai through sheer strength. Issei argues that training is simply a simulation of real combat. He adds that a specter won't hold back just because he doesn't want to fight. Il-Chy stomps the ground hard, losing his patience. He warns Issei that he'd been going easy on him, which was probably why Issei thought he was a joke. Il-Chy threatens him, if Issei comes back again, he'll break his bones. Gong-ah runs over and steps in front of Issei, shouting, Il-Chy, stop scaring Issei. Il-Chy backs away, grumbling that Issei is hiding behind a girl. He mutters irritably, wondering what Gong-ah sees in a guy like him. Issei responds to the challenge, I won't blame you if they break. He adds, let's train again. Il-Chy stops, speechless. He concludes in his mind that human is definitely crazy. Time passes, leaves fall over the temple. Il-Chy walks with his group. In the distance, Issei raises his hand and calls out, Il-Chy. Issei shouts his challenge, let's train. Il-Chy realizes that even after everything, that human challenges him every single day. Il-Chy lands another blow on Issei during their training. He shouts, why do you keep ignoring my warnings? Il-Chy continues angrily, I really can't break your bones, seriously. Issei falls to the ground, defeated once again. Il-Chy asks, you haven't landed a single hit, why won't you give up? The other Dokibus shout, you have no talent, just give up already. There's no way a human can defeat a Dokibai. Time passes at the Spirit Guardian Temple. IlChwi watches Issei train for yet another day. He thinks, but why do his eyes look like they aren't even seeing me? IlChy's eyes shine intensely. IlChwi walks away in frustration. He grumbles, this is so damn annoying. A training post cracks under the impact. IlChwi destroys the post with a single strike. He shouts, do you think I just stood around while you were training? He remembers Mongrion and Gonga smiling. He thinks Gonga's smiles the chief's approval. I won't let someone like you take that away from me. IlChwi thinks angrily, no matter how hard you try. Our talent is on a completely different level. He adds, your fist will never reach me. Summer arrives at the temple, then autumn takes over the place. A year passes. Issei and IlChwi face each other once again. Gonga and the other Docubus react in shock. IlChwi is shocked as well. Issei's fist finally moves forward with full force. This time the blow connects. IlChwi gets back up, denying what just happened. He stammers, I only tripped because I misstepped. Furious, IlChwi charges at Issei. He shouts, I'll kill you, you damned human. IlChwi unleashes a barrage of attacks against Issei. He thinks in shock, he's dodging all of my attacks. He continues, I didn't slack off in my training this year either. A voice shouts, are you saying that his 1 year was worth more than mine? After being hit, Issei reflects, I think I understand now. The arts of exorcism require two things, knowledge and martial prowess. Most specters possess incredibly powerful bodies. Since humans cannot overcome that difference through effort alone, there is a limit to hunting specters no matter how much they train their bodies. What allows them to overcome that limit? It is knowledge. It's just like in the fight against IlChwi. Knowing an opponent's attacks and vital points makes all the difference. By fighting with precision, the arts of exorcism gain a chance of success. But knowing what to do is useless if the attack can't reach the target. That's why you also need martial prowess. IlChwi cries out in pain from the impact, when knowledge and martial prowess become instinct. Only then is it possible to hunt specters, even with a human body. Gonga and the other Docubus watch the scene in shock. Gonga exclaims, Issei defeated IlChwi after only 1 year. And he completely overwhelmed him. Issei asks worriedly, IlChwi, are you okay? IlChwi remains unconscious on the ground. Time passes. Issei and Gonga walk together through the village. She says, you really are amazing. Issei retorts, you're the amazing one, you never stop talking. They spot the chief leaving with a group of hooded Docubus. Someone calls out, Chief. Issei asks, where are you going? The chief replies, oh, I don't think I've ever told you. I'll be away for a few days. She explains, to maintain our alliance with humans. I go on a specter hunt every year. By helping humans who suffer because of specters, we show them that Docubus are a safe people. She remembers, come to think of it, it was during one of those hunts last year that I met you. Issei understands, so that's why you came to our village. The chief asks Gonga, how is the task I gave you going? Gonga gets excited, about that Chief Issei. Issei reacts in alarm, trying to stop her. IlChwi appears and takes responsibility. Issei beat me in a sparring match, Chief. The chief is surprised, really? He defeated you after only 1 year. IlChwi admits he's impressive. I'll train harder so I don't lose again. Issei thinks in surprise, did IlChwi just call me by my name? He finds it suspicious, something's fishy. The chief smiles, haha, I was worried that the two of you wouldn't get along. But seeing you acknowledge your younger brother shows that you've grown, IlChwi. IlChwi laughs, hee hee. Gonga comments annoyed, so that was his plan. With her back turned, the chief bids farewell to the group, then make sure you two get along. Gojil tells Issei, I'm glad you're getting along with my brother IlChwi. Issei replies, yeah. IlChwi asks Gojil, when did you get so close to this guy? She replies, it's been more than half a year. Gojil explains, since you seem to hate Issei, I pretended we weren't that close whenever you were around. She adds, I'm glad you realized that Issei is a good kid, bro. IlChwi grumbles. He even went over Gojil, who has the purest heart around here. IlChwi calls out to Issei, anyway, whatever, let's go play now, you're coming with us. Issei is surprised, me. Gonga warns them Gonga wants to come too. IlChwi declares, today is just for us brothers, Gonga you can't come. She protests, what, who made that rule? IlChwi replies, I did because I wanted to. Gonga retorts, punching him, then I'll do this because I want to. Meanwhile, Issei thinks emotionally, he called me his brother. Night falls over Guisu Temple. They arrive at a weapons storage room. IlChwi unlocks the door. Inside, various weapons are stored on the shelves. Issei calls out hesitantly, IlChwi. He asks, can we come in here whenever we want? IlChwi replies, stop stalling and pick a weapon already, human. Issei thinks dejectedly, he's calling me human again. IlChwi raises a ceremonial bell. This time we're going to settle this with a specter hunt. He proposes we leave Guisu Temple and whoever hunts down a specter first wins. Issei hesitates, but the chief told us not to leave Guisu Temple until we come of age. He adds, besides, it's not like we're guaranteed to find a specter just because we leave. Gojil explains, the adults who went out on patrol earlier said they heard a newborn baby crying. She concludes it must be a child ghost. Those things are stupid, so they sometimes wander around near Guisu Temple. Issei backs down, maybe we really should forget about leaving. Issei warns them, it's dangerous to assume it's a child ghost based on that alone. He explains, there are more than 10 types of specters that make the exact same sound. Issei concludes, if you run into one of them, you'll definitely die. Issei warns, if we don't have any confirmed information, you shouldn't go hunting. ILCHWI grabs a spiked club, ignoring him. HMPH, acting like a know-it-all just because you've read a few books. ILCHWI points the club at Issei and asks, so are you coming or not? Issei hesitates, I can't disobey the chief's orders. ILCHWI taunts him, don't use the chief as an excuse just because you're scared. He threatens, if you're not coming, forget it, we'll leave the coward behind and go by ourselves. ILCHWI turns around and calls out to the group, everyone, if you're ready, let's go. Gojil responds excitedly, raising her spear, got it, big bro. As they descend the stairs of Guisu Temple, ILCHWI comments about Issei, and he still says he came to Guisu Temple to hunt specters. He adds disdainfully, what a pathetic guy. Issei reacts in silence, lowering his eyes. They enter the forest at night. ILCHWI raises his club into the air, getting excited. My specter hunting blood is boiling. He boasts, with this spiked club, I feel like I could kill hundreds of child ghosts. The other girl says excitedly, I've always wanted to try hunting a specter at least once before becoming a full-grown dakibai. ILCHWI comments, you could call this a necessary test to become a specter hunter. She gets excited, so that means we're going to become specter hunters too, big bro. ILCHWI turns toward Issei, by the way. He mocks him while looking at his axe. Some loser with no sense of style chose a little axe for a specter hunt. He adds, we're not going out to chop firewood, you know. ILCHWI taunts him, Kaha, you're scared out of your mind, human. He asks, what's it like seeing a specter for the first time? You must be terrified, huh? He boasts, but I'm different. Just so you know, I've already touched a specter's corpse when I was a kid. In the memory, however, his hand trembles as he reaches toward the specter's body, revealing just how terrified he actually was. ILCHWI declares, raising his fist, I'll show you the difference between our exorcism skills and make up for that defeat during training. Issei thinks worriedly, I couldn't stop them, so I decided to follow them for now, but is everything really going to be okay? He recalls what he read. If it's like the books say, a child ghost is a specter that takes the form of a child. He continues, most of the time it only bothers humans by making meaningless requests. Issei concludes, then ILCHWI should be able to hunt one easily. But he considers another possibility. However, in the worst-case scenario, if it isn't a child ghost, a baby's cry echoes through the darkness coming from several directions. Suddenly, a gigantic mouth opens right in front of them. The crying continues to echo through the dark forest as a pointed shadow crawls between the trees. A creature covered in faces slowly advances through the trees. Horns and spikes cover its entire body. Issei, ILCHWI, Gonga, and Gojil move between the trees with their weapons in hand. ILCHWI frowns, unable to understand why the creature still hasn't appeared. He insists that they heard crying somewhere around there. With no sign of the child ghost, Issei suggests that they return to Guisu Temple. ILCHWI falls silent. Irritated, ILCHWI snaps, if you want to go back, then go back by yourself. He accuses Issei of thinking he's superior just because he beat him once during training. Gojil tries to calm him down, calling him big bro. Issei replies that he doesn't think he's stronger just because of that victory. Gonga watches the argument, confused. Issei explains, in that fight, ILCHWI was simply caught off guard. He states if ILCHWI had been better prepared, he wouldn't have lost so easily. Surprised, ILCHWI asks, do you really think that? Issei confirms it. He says, after training alongside you for a year, I know very well how impressive your physical strength and fighting techniques are. The scene flashes back to that training session, with Issei lying on the ground after being knocked down by one of ILCHY's attacks. Back in the present, ILCHWI smiles, pleased with the compliment. He says confidently, you've got a good eye even for a brat. Issei simply watches him in silence. ILCHWI comments that he must have misunderstood Issei. He proposes letting Issei join their sworn brotherhood. Issei asks in surprise, does that mean I'll have you as my older brother? ILCHWI retorts, do you have a problem with that? Issei smiles happily, I've always wanted an older brother. ILCHWI is puzzled by the expression on Issei's face. Suddenly, ILCHWI grabs Issei by the arm, alarmed. A crying sound echoes between the trees, resembling that of a baby. ILCHWI and Gojil confirm that it's a child ghost. Excited, IlChwi runs ahead, shouting that whoever catches the specter first gets to keep it. Gojil tells him to wait. IlChwi boasts that he's going to show his little brother just how amazing he is. Suddenly he stops dead, alarmed by something ahead. A face covered in skulls lets out a deep, terrifying cry in the darkness. Waljang catches up to IlChwi, gasping for breath, and tells him to stop. IlChwi stops and asks Waljang whether a child ghost really looks like a baby. Waljang hesitantly confirms it. A gigantic mouth opens in the darkness. A deformed face screams from among the shadows. Several other smiling faces emerge, covered in red eyes. IlChwi asks, disturbed, why does that thing have more than one head? Alarmed, Issa shouts for everyone to run. He realizes that this is not an ordinary child ghost. The creature advances, revealing a body covered in skulls and razor-sharp claws. Suddenly, the monster launches countless spikes toward Issa and his friends, who can only stare in shock. The creature's attack strikes the group and sends them flying through the air. Issa is thrown far away but manages to protect himself with his shield. He gets back on his feet and thinks about the others. His eyes widen when he sees what happened. IlChwi screams as one of the claws tears into him. Waljang collapses, screaming in pain. Gojil falls to the ground, badly injured. The three of them lie helplessly on the ground, surrounded by the creature. The monsters' heads laugh together in the darkness. A specter's danger level is not measured by the success rate of hunts, but by the survival rate. The scale ranges from 1 to 9. Levels 9 through 7 are considered low-grade specters. Against a level 9 specter, a beginner hunter has 9 HAL of survival probability, meaning a 90% chance of surviving. Against a level 8 specter, 8 HAL. Against a level 7 specter, 7 HAL. But starting from level 6, which is classified as a mid-grade specter, the survival rate drops dramatically. Against a level 6 specter, a beginner hunter has only 2 HAL of survival probability. The creature standing before them is a mid-grade level 6 specter, the Crying Dragon. Issei recognizes the situation. That thing was never a child ghost. He remembers that even that 20% survival rate only applies to official hunters. And none of them are official hunters, not to mention that they are all injured. Issei concludes that in their current condition, they are all going to die. He begins thinking about what their best possible option is. IlChwi tries to get back on his feet injured while Issei moves toward him. IlChwi feels pain and nausea as he stares at the specter up close. He thinks that specters are even more terrifying than he had heard. Waljang cries out, clutching his injured arm. IlChwi blames himself. He was the one who suggested the hunt. Gojil has been struck in the stomach and is bleeding heavily. IlChwi realizes that she won't survive without immediate treatment. Desperate, he wonders what they should do. He concludes that in their current condition, they are all going to die. IlChwi considers whether they can escape from the specter while carrying the injured Gojil. At that moment, Issa states that the best choice is to leave Gojil behind and run. IlChwi gets to his feet in shock and asks, "What did you just say?" Issei replies that Gojil's injury is fatal. He explains, "Even if we run, she'll die before we make it back to Guisu Temple." IlChwi becomes furious, unable to understand how Issei can say something like that. Issei points out one detail: the Crying Dragon hasn't attacked them again. He explains that he read about the creature in the Encyclopedia of Specters. According to the book, the Crying Dragon prefers prey filled with negative emotions. Issei concludes that the creature is waiting for them to make a decision. Either we abandon our friend and escape, or we all die here. Issei explains that the specter specifically wants them to abandon Gojil. That way she will fall into despair while the others will be consumed by guilt. Even knowing this, Issei states that they have no choice but to give the specter what it wants, because it is the only way they can survive. IlChwi listens in silence, tears welling up in his eyes. Gojil, lying on the ground, says that the pain in her stomach is unbearable. She asks if she is going to die. Gojil calls out to IlChwi as the specter approaches through the darkness. The creature raises one of its claws, ready to attack. IlChwi tries to answer, but no words come out. Issei throws something into the darkness. He tosses an object onto the ground at the creature's feet. An explosion of light engulfs the entire forest. Taking advantage of the flash, IlChwi grabs Gojil. Gojil groans in pain as she is pulled away. IlChwi looks at her closely and apologizes. He swears that one day he will make that specter pay. The flash illuminates the entire forest. Then everything falls silent again. The survivors run as fast as they can. IlChwi runs, gasping for breath. Gojil cries, her hands covered in blood. Alone in the middle of the trail, she asks if everyone has escaped. IlChwi and Waljang run between the trees. IlChwi shouts Gojil's name. Gojil, lying on the ground, says that this is the best thing they can do. She says she does not want everyone to die because of her. Gojil remembers Issei's words. Crying, she whispers, "Forget about revenge, just survive." The weeping dragon rises before Gojil, opening its many mouths. The creature lunges at her, hidden behind a tree. Issei watches everything. Gojil falls to the ground, motionless. The specter's jaws close around her. Then a new face emerges from the creature's body. Gojil's face appears among the monster's shadows. A voice echoes, "Everyone was cruel to her. It was supposed to be so that we could escape together. How could you leave her behind?" Gojil's face screams, transformed into a part of the specter, "Wait for me." Issei silently watches her from behind the tree. The specter advances, all of its faces staring ahead, and Gojiel's voice promises, "I'll come find you soon." Meanwhile, a group of hunters runs through the village at night, shouting directions to one another among the burning torches. Their voices overlap as they urge each other to hurry. Inside Guisu Temple, Gongha suddenly wakes up. She rubs her eyes, still sleepy, and quietly calls out, "Chanmo." Gongha asks why it is so noisy outside. Chanmo, the elderly woman, approaches and replies that the noise must have woken her. She tells her that Ilchwi, Waljing, Gojiel, and even Ise have disappeared. No one knows where they are, and they have not been found anywhere inside Guisu Temple. Still in the same room, Gongha reacts in alarm. What? The children are missing. Chanmo continues explaining that the combat Dakibai has already sent word to the temple chief and gone outside the boundaries of Guisu Temple to search for them. Gongha remembers something from earlier. One of the boys had casually invited her to go play with the group outside, saying that it did not matter either way but that she should come with them. She realizes in horror. Could they have secretly left the village right then? Gongha's face tightens, her eyes wide and filled with tears. She whispers a silent plea. "Please." With her back turned toward the temple and her hair blowing in the wind, she silently prays, "Come back safely, all of you." Meanwhile, in the forest, Issei appears running through the trees. He is now looking behind him. His teeth are clenched tightly, stained with blood. It is the weight of the decision he has just made. He thinks of the group as puppets tied to strings. Facing the weeping dragon like that with that group would have meant certain annihilation. Even if it meant sacrificing Gojiel, if the other 3 lives could be preserved, there would still be a chance to kill the specter later. Just like before, it was the best judgment he could make. An older memory surfaces. That night when he watched everything through a narrow crack in the wall as the specter moved among the bodies, covered in blood. If he ran toward that monster, the young Issei had thought at the time, he would die for nothing without changing anything. The best choice was to keep the specter in sight and watch everything until the very end. Another memory emerges. The eye of a young Issei, marked by dried tears, silently swearing. He would find the creature's lair and avenge his family. Another memory blends with the first. Gojiel, smiling, apologizes for not approaching him sooner because the older boys were always around. She promises that one day everyone will realize that Issei is a good boy, but that decision, 2 footsteps echo through the darkness of the forest, sandal-clad feet moving through the vegetation. Issei walks alone, holding an axe and shield with a red scarf tied around his shoulder. It hurts, he thinks, and it makes him hate himself. He stares into the darkness ahead and concludes, "As I thought, all of this is because specters exist." Suddenly, a voice shouts, "I found you." Issei is startled and steps back, raising his shield as a huge foot emerges between the trees. An adult Dakibai with red hair and a muscular build appears before him, the combat Dakibai of Guisu Temple and the temple's patrol officer, Guichin. He roars angrily. "Issei, you little brat." Issei reacts in surprise. "Lord Guichin." Guichin scolds him, asking if he has any idea how much chaos he has caused. He warns Issei that when the temple chief returns, he can expect a severe reprimand. Then he asks where the other children are hiding. Issei simply remains silent. Issei explains what happened. They encountered the weeping dragon specter in the forest, and he became separated from Ilchwi and Waljing while fleeing. Gojiel, he reveals, was devoured by the specter. On the ground, torn pieces of blood-stained fabric are all that remain of her. Guichin reacts in shock. What? Gojiel was devoured by a specter. His fist clenches tightly, trembling with anger and disbelief. He demands to know. "Issei, where is that damn specter, the weeping dragon? What does it look like?" Issei hesitates silently before answering. "It's a horse-shaped specter with multiple faces." Guichin curses in desperation. "Damn it, we have to hurry. Go back to Guisu Temple first." Issei thinks to himself. Guichin is the patrol officer responsible for exterminating specters that appear near Guisu Temple. Does he not know about the weeping dragon? Now under the rain, Guichin prepares himself, adjusting the spear on his back. Issei asks if it would not be better to wait for reinforcements since the weeping dragon is a mid-grade specter. Guichin reassures him. "Don't worry, I'm one of the 5 physically strongest Dakibis." Issei remains silent, his face tense. He declares, "Lord Guichin, I'm going with you." Guichin reacts in shock. What has gotten into you? No, it's far too dangerous." Issei insists. He remembers the exact place where they encountered the weeping dragon and asks whether rescuing the other children should not be their priority right now. Guichin grits his teeth in frustration. He warns him seriously, "If we encounter the specter, you run away immediately." Issei nods, understood. A branch is bitten down hard between clenched teeth. Ilchwi groans through the piece of wood in his mouth. His body tense as blood runs from the wound in his chest while something is ripped out of him. KH. The specter's stakes, pulled from his flesh, fall bloodied onto the wet forest floor, the symbols carved into them stained red. Ilchwi and Waljing continue walking between the trees. Still tense, Ilchwi asks, "If we've made it this far, he won't be able to catch up to us, right?" He turns toward the other boy. "Waljing, are you okay?" Waljing answers while holding back the pain. "It hurts a little, but I'm fine." Lost in his thoughts, Waljang stares into the emptiness, his eyes filled with tears. Is it really right for only the two of us to be the survivors? He murmurs. By now, Gojil must already be. Ilchwi breaks down emotionally, tears and blood mixing across his face. If we had all fought together, we could have saved Gojil. He growls, filled with anger. If that bastard Ise hadn't confused us with all that useless talk. Waljang hesitantly tries to argue in the background. But if it weren't for Ise, we would have. Ilchwi cuts him off furiously. You idiot, this is a disgrace, both as a specter hunter and as Gojil's brother. His voice breaks as he screams. It would have been better to die alongside Gojil. Suddenly, Ilchwi turns sharply, alert, his eyes gleaming in the darkness. A sound cuts through the air, drawing closer. His eye widens, filled with tears, reflecting something moving in the shadows. A creature hangs over him like a puppet, a large head the color of cured meat with empty eye sockets instead of eyes attached to long, thin, tentacle-like limbs. Ilchwi stares at the thing, weapon in hand, wondering. Is that a child specter? The grotesque creature's face, resembling a deformed baby, lets out a high-pitched scream. AWO. Ilchwi charges forward in fury, striking with both curved blades. Damn it, how dare some random specter. He thinks through gritted teeth, consumed by anger. If that damn human hadn't clouded my judgment, I would have taken down that specter just like this too. He roars with determination. Just let him cross my path again. With this iron-spiked club, I'll avenge Gojil. Waljang agrees, his voice firm. You're right. Consumed by rage, Ilchwi screams, his fangs bared and tears streaming down his face. Let's kill every specter and avenge Gojil. Then suddenly the worst happens. The monster that killed Gojil appears behind Waljang. Ilchwi swings with all his strength, his weapon descending in a brutal arc as blood sprays through the dark forest. His face contorts, one eye wide as he stares at the monster before him in disbelief. Ahead, the emaciated legs of the weeping dragon step onto a fallen body, motionless in a pool of blood. Ilchwi screams, his voice torn apart by despair. Waljang. The creature's monstrous face moves closer, its jaws slightly open. His hand tightens around the club, his knuckles turning white from the pressure. Ilchwi glares at the child specter before him, still gripping his weapon tightly. You damn specter, how dare you do this to Waljang? I'll crush you just like I did that child specter. His face twists with hatred, blood running down his chin. With this iron-spiked club, he roars, his fangs bared. For my younger siblings. He charges forward, screaming. Revenge. He throws himself straight into the specter's gaping jaws. Ilchwi is engulfed by a harsh reality. The monster is terrifying. As his body gives out, he stammers. He struggles to speak, exhausted. Revenge. Suddenly, a figure leaps over him, Guichin, weapon in hand, charging toward the specter. His mouth opens in a furious roar. How dare you raise a hand against a child of Guisu Temple? Ilchwi watches the scene, his eye filled with tears, completely stunned. The weeping dragon roars, all of its faces screaming together as it charges at the new opponent. Guichin shouts over his shoulder. Ise, take Ilchwi and stay back, I'll handle this specter. Further behind, Ise is already supporting Ilchwi as the two retreat from the battle. Dazed, Ilchwi murmurs. Uncle Guichin. Ise asks worriedly. Can you stand? He adds with relief. Thank goodness you're alive, Ilchwi. A growl echoes from the creature as its fangs draw closer. Guichin leaps forward with a devastating strike, an arc of light cutting through the air and slashing into the specter's body. The monster screams in pain, its many faces contorting in agony at the same time. Guichin continues his relentless assault. For the sin of trampling upon the future of Guisu Temple, don't think I'll let you die peacefully. From a distance, Ise watches everything thoughtfully. He's strong. He reflects that with Lord Guichin, they might really be able to defeat the weeping dragon. But Ilchwi, leaning against Ise, his face covered in blood and tears, murmurs. Because of me, Waljang and Gojil. His voice breaks, I got them all killed. Ise looks at him seriously and declares. Ilchwi, go on by yourself from here. He continues. I'm staying to help Lord Guichin. Ilchwi reacts in alarm, blood running down his face. Help him? What are you talking about? Can't you see that uncle is driving the specter back? A memory surfaces in Ise's mind. He is still a child sitting before Mangrion, she teaches him. Lord Guichin's martial strength surpasses that of the weeping dragon. But she continues. However, I was taught that hunting specters is not simply about martial strength. Ise thinks while watching the battle in the distance. If Lord Guichin has no resistance against whatever the weeping dragon is hiding, he'll need help. Guichin charges toward the specter, shouting. This ends now. Inside the creature's body, two distorted faces emerge from the shadows, screaming. Why are you doing this? It's us, uncle. Please don't hurt us. Guichin's attack hesitates in midair, his eye widening at the voices. He murmurs in confusion. Wo Waljing. Gojil. Taking advantage of his hesitation, the specter drives its claws into Guichen's body, blood gushing from the wound. He screams furiously. "Kh, you bastard! How dare you pretend to be the children?" His fist clenches tightly, trembling. But the faces within the creature continue relentlessly. "You promised to teach us staff techniques." More faces appear, plating. "We had been waiting so long for that day. Uncle Guichen." The children's faces stare at him through tear-filled eyes. "We're still alive. Please free us from the specter." Guichen knows those are not the children. He knows that all he has to do is crush them along with the specter. But when emotions run high, anyone can lose sight of their objective and have their judgment clouded. That is the weakness that every living being with a heart cannot escape. The weeping dragon understood that weakness with absolute clarity. It was a weakness of its prey that it had learned through countless hunts. A new face forms in its flesh, screaming, "Ghku!" And another whispers, "Save me!" Use this tactic, its prey would weaken and soon lose the will to fight. There had never been a prey on whom it did not work. Guichen's face contorts as he trembles, his eye glowing red with determination despite the pain. Ignoring the pleading faces, Issei charges forward with a precise attack, striking the specter's head directly. But now, mixed in among its prey, there was an anomalous being. Issei charges forward with his axe, attacking the creature before him. "Come to your senses, that's a specter." The situation begins to deviate from the weeping dragon's normal behavior. The weeping dragon is a specter that devours human heads. It steals the memories and voices of its victims. Because it uses a child's voice to lure in its prey, it earned the name Weeping Dragon. Its favorite prey are those consumed by despair. That is why before attacking it likes to drive its victims into despair. This makes the hunt more satisfying for it. Such cruelty is only possible because of the specter's great intelligence. Issei already knew about this characteristic from the books he had read in the library. Gojil stares at Issei in shock. He shouts, "Issei, what are you doing? You killed Brother Waljing." Gojil continues, unable to understand. "How could you do this? I thought you were a good kid." Overcome with rage, Issei charges at Gojil to attack him. Issei backs away from the monster, which warns him that it's dangerous. Issei asks Guichen, "Lord Guichen, are you alright?" He remembers the promise he made to Ilchhwi that they would escape together, and his own response, "I'm sorry, I don't think I can do that." Issei declares, "This specter hunt will fail without you, Lord Guichen." Guichen thinks in surprise that Issei is actually calling this a specter hunt. Ilchhwi screams, "Stop." He hesitates, wondering if those children might still be alive. Ilchhwi cries out desperately, "Those are their faces, their voices." He insists, "Maybe we can still save them." Issei declares, "Give up, Gojil and Waljing are already dead." He explains that the weeping dragon is only using their heads to imitate their memories and voices. A voice echoes, "Brother." Ilchhwi reacts in shock. The false voices continue, "You recognize us, don't you, brother?" They accuse him, "Issei is trying to kill us." And they plead, "Stop him, brother." Ilchhwi cries out in confusion, "Gojil." A dagger cuts through the air and strikes the specter. Guichen recognizes the weapon in surprise. "Wait, that dagger." He asks Issei, "How do you have that treasure?" Issei replies, "I took everything I could from the armory." Guichen comments, "If it's a good weapon, that's a relief." Issei warns, "If it tries to imitate their voices again, I'll stop it." He asks Lord Guichen, "Focus only on killing the specter." Guichen falls silent. He thinks this child really is broken somehow. But thinking rationally, Guichen acknowledges that Issei's judgment is correct. He thinks that they need any help they can get in this fight, even if that help comes from a child. Guichen warns, "Don't advance recklessly." He declares, "I'll risk my life to make sure you two reach Guisu Temple safely." Guichen charges forward with a roar, attacking the specter. Issei turns around, alert. Ilchhwi asks while staring at Issei, "Don't you have a heart? How can you be like this?" A memory surfaces, Gojil, still alive, running in the distance. Ilchhwi remembers guiltily, "He ended up like this because we abandoned him." Ilchhwi mutters regretfully, "If I had known it would come to this." He charges at Issei, screaming, "It would have been better if we had died together." Issei slaps him across the face. He replies firmly, "Get a hold of yourself, Ilchhwi. I know how painful it is to lose someone." Issei says, "Witnessing the death of your own family is something you never forget." He continues, "You'll blame yourself for surviving and wish you had died with them." Issei says with determination, "I'm sure dying with them would have been easier." "But what would that have solved?" Ilchhwi mutters, "I don't understand." Issei states, "Even if that moment happened again, I would make the same choice." Issei stands up with his back turned toward Ilchhwi. He declares, "I will survive until the very end." Guichen continues fighting the weeping dragon. A memory surfaces, a young Issei vows, "I will survive." He continues, "And after I survive." The memory shows the moment when he takes action against the specter that killed his family. Back in the present, Issei declares with red eyes, "I will hunt down every last specter." Guichen strikes the weeping dragon with tremendous force. He is surprised. What? For a moment it left an opening. Guichin thinks resolutely, I don't know what happened, but this is our chance, we have to bring it down now. He lands a direct hit. Waljing's face reacts in pain. You uncle. Guichin apologizes as he attacks. I'm sorry, Gojiol. The specter roars in pain from the blow. An artifact is revealed, a treasure capable of blocking a specter's cursed energy. Its name is the Meridian-Cutting Blade. Legend says that a specter cut by this blade loses its cursed energy and becomes weaker. Guichin warns as he charges forward with the blade, this is gonna hurt like hell. The false voices scream in pain, it hurts, stop uncle. Guichin tells himself, it's a specter, they're not the children, it's a specter. He roars furiously, they're not the children. Guichin strikes with all his strength, but the impact is reflected back at him. He tries to reach for the blade, but his hand fails. Guichin mutters, no, I can't, my injury. The weeping dragon advances toward Guichin, who is lying on the ground. Ilchwi screams in panic, you uncle. But he can only groan in pain. The weeping dragon grabs its own head, groaning. It grits its teeth in fury. It raises its paws and strikes the master with all its strength, hitting so hard that it creates a hole beneath Guichin. That was dangerous. For the first time in all its hunts, the weeping dragon feels its own life threatened. The experience fills it with rage. Ilchwi cries out in shock, you uncle Guichin. Blood sprays through the air. Guichin's body is seen lying behind the specter. The weeping dragon retreats, limping through the forest. What should have been an easy hunt has left it with a mortal wound. Until it recovers, it needs to hide, but before that, the source of that disturbance was clear to the specter. It needs to eliminate the anomaly among its prey. Ilchwi sits alone in the forest when he senses something approaching. Issei leaps toward the weeping dragon, charging forward with his axe raised. He lands a direct hit on the specter. The creature's jaws open in reaction to the impact. That creature again. Issei taunts it, judging by how you took your anger out on Lord Guichin, you must be pretty cornered. Gojiol's face pleads, Issei, stop, it hurts, why don't you recognize me? Issei simply replies that it isn't the real Gojiol. A man cries out in terror, please spare me, I have a wife and children. Issei advances mercilessly. Another voice begs, please at least spare my father. Issei replies coldly, beg all you want. He declares, there is no chance I'll ever let a specter live. The weeping dragon is struck repeatedly, screaming with different voices, wow, you really have no heart, murderer. A dull metallic sound echoes through the dense forest, something being crushed. For a brief moment, Ilchwi remains seated with his back turned, silent. Everyone present shares the same thought. Ilchwi mutters, unable to understand, how can he do something like this? Issei raises his blood-stained axe and reacts, huh. A low groan escapes the specter, ah. Issei watches calmly, so specters can make that face too. He adds, good to know. The scene shifts slightly to the now quiet trees. Issei's face is cold, covered in blood. Ilchwi is seen sitting on the ground, injured with a frightened expression. Ilchwi covers his mouth. What he is seeing is simply unbelievable. Issei advances with his axe, striking over and over. Covered in blood, he stares at what remains of the slain specter. Ilchwi collapses to the ground, injured. He mutters, Waljing Gojiol. In despair, he continues, even Uncle Guichin, all of them. Issei approaches and asks, are you all right, Ilchwi? Ilchwi is startled by the sudden voice. Issei apologizes, sorry, I startled you by speaking out of nowhere, didn't I? He says that he needs Ilchwi's help. Issei extends his blood-stained hand and asks, can you stand? Night falls, illuminated by a full moon. A group carrying torches searches the forest. They're not here. I don't see anyone here either. We need to expand the search. One of the men shouts desperately, where did those children go in the middle of the night? An elf points in horror, there. The two appear walking toward the villagers, with Issei carrying Guichin on his shoulders. Someone shouts, the children. Time passes and the scene shifts to a peaceful temple nestled among the mountains. Daylight enters through a wooden window. A purple-haired girl lies relaxed on the floor. She cries, her eyes filled with tears. The missing children return to Guisu Temple, but only 2 of them come back bringing terrible news. The girl reports Waljang Gojiol and Uncle Guichin were killed by a demon. I didn't want to believe it. She continues, but the look on Ilchwi's face told me it was true. Since then, Ilchwi has locked himself in his room and refuses to speak to anyone. The only thing they can hear is the sound of him crying behind the door. Meanwhile, the girl walks while carrying a tray of food. Issei, who returned to the temple with Ilchwi, resumes his routine as if nothing had happened. The purple-haired girl thinks, after everything that happened, he should be resting. But she thinks hesitantly as she approaches with the tray. Getting close to Issei isn't easy. An elf watches Issei run past. A rumor spreads, did you hear? They say Waljing and Gojiol's bodies had axe marks. Issei runs through the streets. The rumor continues, and they say it was that human boy who struck them with the axe. Ilchwi hasn't said anything about what happened, so we don't know the details. Are you saying that Brat might have killed the 2 of them? Someone becomes suspicious. His friends of an entire year died and look at him. His expression hasn't changed at all. Doesn't that make him suspicious? Inside the temple, bodies wrapped in bandages are laid before a sinister demon statue. Mangryone appears accompanied by two hooded men. Shocked, she reacts, how could this have happened? She reads the names in shock, Guichen, Waljang, even Gojiol. She reflects, a mid-level Yagui came close to Guisu Temple while I was away, but I checked the barrier on my way back. There was nothing wrong with it. Then how did it get inside? She turns to Issei. You must have been through a lot, but even so you recovered their bodies and brought them home. You did well. I'm sorry to ask this of you, but could you tell me exactly what happened that day? The hooded men respond, understood, Chief. The two of them watch closely from behind their masks. Memories of the massacre return in fragmented, violent flashes. In the memories, the weeping dragon appears alongside his friends with desperate expressions. Guichen gives everything he has in the fight but is injured soon afterward. Issei faces the weeping dragon and its child-devouring jaws. Issei charges forward with both blades against the tentacled creatures. Lifeless bodies float in the air. Issei dives toward the monster, determined to put an end to everything. Back in the present, Issei finishes his account. That's everything. One of the hooded men approaches, agitated. If everything you said is true, then there's something I want to ask. Issei continues his account, leaving Gojiol behind after he suffered a fatal wound, and crushing the heads of the children the weeping dragon had devoured. Those were cruel decisions, but clearly the best ones. The hooded man shouts indignantly, even so, how can you speak so calmly? About the deaths of the companions you fought and lived alongside. The chief approaches, alarmed. She orders, enough. She reprimands the two hooded men. How dare you make a scene in front of your fallen comrades? You two leave them now. One of them protests, Chief, but she insists. I said leave. The two reluctantly back away under Mangryone's overwhelming pressure. One of them gives in, understood. The chief turns to Issei. Issei, please don't hold a grudge against them. They simply couldn't contain their anger after losing their own. Issei replies, you don't need to worry about me, I'm fine. She observes, you only talked about what happened without showing any emotion. Didn't it occur to you that speaking like that would only upset them more? Issei replies, it's just that, the three who died must hate me, so shouldn't there be someone here to carry that hatred in their place? She questions him, did you think that if you accepted all of their anger, somehow the dead would find peace? She reacts in disbelief, unbelievable. Issei asks, you're not angry with me, Chief. She replies, it seems like you want me to scold you. Should I scold you for taking an artifact from the treasure hall without permission? Or for breaking the rules, leaving Guisu Temple and causing the deaths of the three of them? She concludes, neither you nor IlChwi are in any condition to be scolded, so what good would it do to take my anger out on you? Issei replies, I'm sorry. The chief thinks seeing a child trying to carry everything on his own doesn't make me proud, it only irritates me. She turns to Issei. Come to think of it, it's already been a year since you came to Guisu Temple, and even though I've given you tasks, it seems I've never actually taught you anything. She continues, so I'll give you your first lesson, come here. Issei reacts confused. Issei kneels before the bodies, holding the ritual bell and the prayer paper while the chief watches from behind. She announces, from this moment on we will perform a rite for the deceased, the ceremony of consolation. She explains, if demons or those killed by demons are not properly laid to rest, their resentment wanders through the 9 heavens and eventually creates new demons. She adds, this is something basic you need to know, since you'll be hunting demons from now on. Issei asks, is it really right for someone like me to console them? The chief replies, the ritual was designed so that even ordinary people without spiritual energy can perform it. You shouldn't have any problems. Issei insists, that's not what I meant. He admits, I think they might hate it if I'm the one performing the ceremony of consolation. The chief replies, you won't know unless you try. She instructs him, hold the prayer of consolation in your left hand and ring the ritual bell with your right, then recite the prayer with reverence. Issei prepares himself, his expression serious. He recites, may your spirits depart in peace, following the path of the returning light. The chief completes the prayer. Though your souls were born burdened with demonic energy, may you never fall into the abyss of the demonic realm, and may you be reborn as humans in your next lives. Issei rings the bell forcefully, his fists clenched. The wrapped bodies remain motionless before him. A dark voice echoes in his mind, it's because of you. His vision distorts as the faces of Waljang and Gojiol appear, accusing him. Because someone like you came to Guisu Temple, it hurts. Why did you abandon me? Issei shudders, struck by their words. The chief watches the scene with a serious expression. A ceremony of consolation isn't completed simply by performing the ritual. The chief continues, you must convey your sincere desire to comfort them, and only when that soul accepts it does the ceremony of consolation truly begin. She adds, that's why, depending on the relationship, a ceremony of consolation can fail. She warns him, you can't see it without spiritual energy. A blue-green energy surrounds the bodies, rising around Issei. The chief watches, but it seems the three of them didn't dislike the consolation you offered. Issei reacts in surprise, then that means. The chief confirms the ceremony of consolation was successful. The energy completely envelops Issei, glowing brightly around him. The chief approaches him and says, "Now stop being so hard on yourself."